Today, we delve into the chilling depths of criminal history to uncover the stories of 5 of the most prolific female serial killers. Their motives, often shrouded in mystery, paint a complex picture of the human psyche, revealing the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface. Join us as we navigate the labyrinthine corridors of their lives, piecing together the fragments of their stories and attempting to understand the forces that propelled them down a path of unspeakable acts. Aileen Wuornos, a name synonymous with a chilling chapter in American crime, was a woman whose life was marred by hardship and tragedy. Born in 1956, her early years were marked by abandonment, abuse, and a descent into a life on the streets. By the age of 14, Aileen had already encountered the harsh realities of life, turning to prostitution as a means of survival. The streets became her unforgiving classroom, hardening her against the world and fueling a growing resentment towards those she perceived as having wronged her. It was against this backdrop of despair and disillusionment that Aileen's crimes began to unfold. From 1989, over the span of 12 months, she embarked on a chilling series of murders, targeting men she had encountered during her time as a sex worker. Her modus operandi was as cold and calculated as it was brutal. Luring her victims with the promise of intimacy, she would ultimately turn on them, shooting them at close range before leaving their bodies to be discovered along the desolate highways of Florida. Aileen's motives remain a subject of debate, with some attributing her actions to a deep-seated rage stemming from years of abuse and exploitation. Others point to her claims of self-defense, alleging that her victims had attempted to assault her. Regardless of the underlying reasons, Aileen's crimes sent shockwaves through America, shattering the illusion that serial killing was a predominantly male domain. Aileen was arrested in 1991 and executed by lethal injection on the 9th of October 2002. Her story became a cautionary tale and a chilling reminder of the devastating consequences of a life spiraling out of control. In the annals of history, few figures evoke as much morbid fascination as Elizabeth Báthory, the Hungarian countess whose name has become synonymous with cruelty and bloodlust. Born into a noble family in 1560, Elizabeth enjoyed a life of privilege and power, yet beneath this veneer of aristocracy lurked a darkness that would stain her legacy for centuries to come. Elizabeth's infamy stems from the accusations that she and 4 of her servants tortured and murdered hundreds of young women from 1590 to 1610, bathing in their blood in a macabre attempt to retain her youthful beauty. These gruesome tales, passed down through generations, paint a chilling portrait of a woman consumed by vanity and driven to unspeakable acts. The stories surrounding Elizabeth's crimes are as numerous as they are disturbing. Some accounts describe her using needles, knives, and even her own teeth to inflict pain upon her victims. Others speak of elaborate torture devices designed to inflict unimaginable suffering. The true extent of Elizabeth's crimes remains shrouded in mystery and speculation. While historical records confirm her arrest and subsequent imprisonment, the exact number of her victims and the veracity of the most gruesome allegations continue to be debated by historians. Her servants were put on trial and she was imprisoned within the castle of Cactice, where she died under mysterious circumstances. The legend of Elizabeth Báthory, the Blood Countess, endures, woven into the fabric of folklore and serving as a chilling reminder of the depths of human depravity. Her story, a macabre tapestry of power, cruelty, and obsession, continues to captivate and horrify, ensuring her place among history's most notorious figures. Behind a facade of grandmotherly charm, Nannie Doss concealed a chilling secret. She was a serial killer who preyed on those closest to her. She was responsible for 11 deaths between 1920 and 1954. Born in 1905, Nannie's life was a tapestry of hardship, punctuated by unhappy marriages and a string of suspicious deaths that would ultimately lead to her undoing. Nannie's preferred method of murder was poison, a silent and insidious weapon that left little trace and allowed her to maintain an outward appearance of innocence. Arsenic became her instrument of choice, carefully administered to her husbands, family members, and even her own mother. Her motives, like those of many serial killers, remain a subject of speculation. Some believe she was driven by financial gain, inheriting money and possessions from her deceased spouses. At age 7, she hit her head on a metal bar and suffered severe headaches, blackouts, and depression. Doss blamed her mental instability on that accident. Others point to a darker impulse, a perverse satisfaction derived from taking lives and playing the role of the grieving widow. Nannie's demeanor, even when confronted with the evidence of her crimes, was marked by a chilling detachment. Her frequent giggling and light-hearted pronouncements earned her the moniker, the Giggling Granny, a chilling contrast to the gravity of her actions. Nannie Doss's story is a chilling reminder that appearances can be deceiving. Beneath the veneer of normalcy, darkness can fester, and the most unassuming individuals can harbor deadly secrets. Doss confessed to killing 4 of her husbands, her mother, her sister, her grandson, and her mother-in-law. She pleaded guilty on May 17, 1955, and was sentenced to life imprisonment. She died from leukemia in the hospital ward of the Oklahoma State Penitentiary in 1965. Juana Barraza, known as La Mataviellitas, or the Old Lady Killer, terrorized Mexico City in the early 2000s with a string of murders that targeted elderly women. A former wrestler, Barraza's imposing physique and cunning allowed her to blend into the bustling city, preying on vulnerable victims in a series of crimes that shocked the nation. Juana's modus operandi was as calculated as it was brutal. Posing as a social worker or nurse, she would gain the trust of her victims, offering assistance and companionship. Once inside their homes, she would overpower them, often using strangulation or blunt force trauma to carry out her deadly deeds. The investigation into Barraza's crimes was a complex and challenging endeavor. The sheer number of victims, with estimates ranging from 42 to 48 deaths, coupled with her ability to evade capture, created a climate of fear and uncertainty in Mexico City. As the body count rose, investigators began to piece together a pattern, focusing on the killer's physical characteristics and the specific methods used in the crimes. Witnesses described a stocky woman with reddish hair, often seen carrying a stethoscope or other medical paraphernalia. The breakthrough in the case came when Barraza was apprehended fleeing the scene of a crime. A watchful neighbor, alerted by the victim's cries for help, contacted the authorities, leading to Barraza's arrest and the end of her reign of terror. She was found guilty on 16 charges of murder and aggravated burglary, including 11 separate counts of murder. She was sentenced to 759 years in prison. In the annals of Russian history, Darya Nikolaevna Saltykova stands as a figure of unparalleled cruelty, a wealthy noblewoman who earned the chilling moniker Saltychika for her sadistic treatment of serfs under her control. Born in 1730, Saltykova inherited vast estates and wielded absolute power over the lives of those who toiled on her land. Behind the facade of aristocratic privilege, a darkness festered within her, fueled by a perverse thirst for power and a complete disregard for human life. Saltykova's reign of terror was marked by unspeakable acts of cruelty. She took sadistic pleasure in inflicting pain on her serfs, particularly young women, whom she subjected to horrific tortures and punishments. Accounts of her atrocities describe beatings, burnings, and prolonged exposure to the elements. She is said to have devised elaborate methods of torture, reveling in the suffering of her victims. The full extent of Saltykova's crimes is difficult to comprehend. Estimates suggest she may have been responsible for the deaths of over 100 serfs, though the true number may never be known. Despite her position of power and influence, Saltykova's crimes eventually caught the attention of the authorities. Petitions from surviving serfs, detailing her horrific acts, reached the ears of Empress Catherine the Great, who ordered a thorough investigation. Saltykova's trial was a sensation, exposing the depths of her depravity and shocking Russian society. Found guilty of murder and torture, she was stripped of her titles and sentenced to life imprisonment in a monastery dungeon, where she remained until her death in 1801. These stories remind us of the darker aspects of human nature, hidden behind the facade of the ordinary. The women we have explored, each with their own unique motives and methods, stand as chilling examples of the destructive potential that can reside within the human heart. Their crimes, etched into the annals of history, serve as a reminder that darkness can lurk in the most unexpected places, and that even those who appear ordinary can harbor the capacity for unspeakable acts. Thank you for joining us on this grim journey through history. May their stories serve as a reminder to remain vigilant, to seek understanding, and to never forget the victims whose lives were tragically cut short.